Hello and welcome to As the Blade Turns. My name is Dave Leese, and for those of you who are new here, please subscribe below and remember to smash that like button. The fallout of RUSADA's ruling on the doping case of Kamila Valieva continues. A call to resolve the doping case involving Kamila Valieva as soon as possible has been made by the International Olympic Committee so that the team medals from the Beijing 2022 Olympic Games can be distributed. A Russian anti-doping agency disciplinary committee has ruled that Valieva committed an anti-doping rule violation, but was not to blame for it and should not have her Olympic results annulled. Valieva, who was only 15 at the time, was the star of the Russian Olympic Committee team that won the team gold medal at Beijing 2022 ahead of the United States and Japan. But after it was revealed, after the team event, that Valieva had tested positive for a banned substance at the Russian Championships on December 25th, the medal ceremony was canceled, and the medals have yet to be awarded. The case seems certain to drag on for several months more after the World Anti-Doping Agency announced that it planned to appeal against the RUSADA decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Nathan Chen, a member of the U.S. team at Beijing 2022, admitted that the delay is frustrating, but that they are just waiting on the results. The IOC are urging for a decision to be made. The IOC welcomes WADA's announcement to conduct a full review of RUSADA's decision in order to consider further action and the possibility of resolving the case as soon as possible without further undue delay, the IOC said in a statement. Since this concerns a test that was conducted outside the Olympic Games, but which has an impact on the results in the team tournament and individual competitions at the Beijing Winter Olympics, the IOC hopes that the case will be resolved as soon as possible. This is also in the interest of all participants, especially athletes who have not yet been able to receive their medals from the Games in 2022. Only the completion of the case will allow the International Skating Union to establish the final results of the team tournament and the IOC to decide on the distribution of medals. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee commented on the decision of the disciplinary committee of RUSADA to find Kamila Valieva not guilty of an anti-doping rule violation. The RUSADA committee ruled that despite the very fact of the violation, there was no fault or negligence on the part of the athlete. The World Anti-Doping Agency, in turn, is ready to appeal this decision to the CAS. In November, WADA appealed to the CAS to ban Valieva for 4 years. We are approaching the anniversary of the Beijing Games, and it is still very important that the participants in the team figure skating tournament get the solution they deserve. We thank WADA for its commitment to addressing this issue and willingness to help move the process forward, the USOPC commented, which was quoted on CNN. Producer Yana Rudkovskaya commented on RUSADA's decision. The figure skater Kamila Valieva was found not guilty of doping, but was deprived of the gold of the Russian Championships 2022. I will keep my opinion to myself, said Rudkovskaya. German journalist Hayo Seppelt reacted to the decision of RUSADA in the case of figure skater Kamila Valieva. Ridiculous. This is what happens in non-democratic and non-transparent sports structures. RUSADA cleared Valieva of doping, who is not guilty. It seems that the Russian sport is incapable of creating independent structures that are trustworthy. But the IOC wants Russian athletes to be at the 2024 Olympics in Paris, Seppelt tweeted. Well, in a move that enraged Russians so much that they are now misspelling her name in the comments of our YouTube channel, 3-time silver medalist of the U.S. Championships in pair skating, Jessica Calalang, commented on the decision of the RUSADA Disciplinary Committee to acquit Kamila Valieva. That seems completely fair and unbiased. Doping is doping. It should automatically equate to punishment. WADA must appeal. The end, wrote The American. In 2021, Calalang tested positive for 4-CPA, a metabolite of meclofenoxate, which is a banned stimulant. The athlete managed to avoid disqualification by providing that the substance was contained in her cosmetics that she used before going out on the ice. Now, it is important to note that Calalang was actually barred from competing at the World Figure Skating Championships immediately after this test result was announced, and she lost funding as a result of her positive test. The Olympic champion in the team event of Pyeongchang 2018, Megan Duhamel, commented the decision of the RUSADA Disciplinary Anti-Doping Committee to acquit Kamila Valieva. And who will believe it? Give the rest of them their Olympic medals, Duhamel wrote. Every doping case should be treated equally. Give clean athletes the support they deserve, Duhamel added in response to Jessica Calalang's post. Well, Sambo 70 President Rinat Laishev commented on the words of the American Jessica Calalang about the acquittal of Kamila Valieva in her doping case. Calalang said that doping is doping. It should automatically be equated with punishment. To talk about your colleague like that is pure incivility and meanness. It is clear that there is competition between Russians and Americans, but there must be dignity and professional ethics in related to each other. And what is happening now is just a disgrace. There are no other words. It is absolutely not worth paying attention to this. But it is once again worth congratulating Kamila on a positive verdict. We all believed in her, and we never had any doubts about her purity, Laishev said. Laishev, a master of civility. Figure skating coach Tatiana Tarasova believes that American Jessica Calalang should not comment on the case of Kamila Valieva, since she herself was accused of doping. Everyone has the right to say whatever they want. But I think that from the side of an American, a Dutch, a Swiss, an Englishwoman, but from the side of an athlete who used doping, it looks somehow strange. It would be better for her to refrain from such statements, so as not to once again remind the whole world that doping was discovered in her, said Tarasova. Two-time Olympic biathlon champion Dmitry Vasiliev commented on the words of the American figure skater Calalang, who he may never even have heard of before, about her words about the doping case of Kamila Valieva. Calalang said doping is doping. It should automatically be equated with punishment. It is not correct. It's like in Krylov's fable, isn't it better to turn on yourself, Godfather? This is in the style of Western athletes and politicians. They don't look at themselves in the mirror, said a Russian who is always looking at himself in the mirror. Yes, the very fact happened to Valieva. Let the experts figure it out. But dirty athletes should not speak out about this at all, said Vasiliev. And now a word from the Russian Gaslighting Committee. Chairman of the State Duma Committee on Physical Culture and Sports, Dmitry Savishev, commented on the decision of RUSADA to acquit Kamila Valieva in the doping case. We welcome the decision of the RUSADA Disciplinary Committee. I am sure that behind such a decision, there is a seriously supported, motivational decision. And in CAS, such a professional organization as RUSADA will have to have a serious legal position, Savishev said. President of Sambo 70 Sports and Education Center, Rinat Laishev, appreciated the decision of RUSADA to justify Kamila Valieva in the doping case, but to cancel her result at last year's Russian championship. This is RUSADA's cheap flirting with WADA and CAS. They want to feed the beast a little. We had to fight for Kamila to the end. She is a pure, honest person. I initially said that the 15-year-old girl was not to blame for anything, and Team Tutberidze and her team would not allow such things. Moreover, they passed the European Championships, the World Championship at the highest level. Why would they risk it? This is an invention of the IOC and Thomas Bach, who began to shoot down our 15-year-old girl. They did not remove her from the competition, but they could have removed her. Because of the money, they didn't withdraw her. Because the TV companies said, "We're leaving. We don't need your policy." They needed intrigue and interest, Laishev said. The tricks from WADA and CAS are always worth waiting for. We have been waiting for sleaze for them for centuries, he was quoted as saying. Olympic champion Alexei Yagudin, who Sasha Cohen said taught her all about doping, appreciated the decision of the Russian anti-doping agency to justify Kamila Valieva in her doping case. The RUSADA committee ruled that despite the very fact of the violation, there was no fault or negligence on the part of the athlete. WADA, in turn, is ready to appeal its decision to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. In November, WADA appealed to the CAS to ban Valieva for 4 years. Do I believe that the situation with Valieva will be resolved positively? I have always been an optimist, Yagudin said. 4-time Olympic biathlon champion Alexander Tikhonov believes that the Russian anti-doping agency was late in making the decision on the doping case of Kamila Valieva. RUSADA was simply late. The noise rose because it did not make a conclusion in time. WADA raised the issue of providing it on time. We often start making noise, talking about a political order, but you need to do everything at home on time, Tikhonov said. Honored coach of Russia, Inna Goncharenko, creator of Elena Rodionova, spoke about the decision of RUSADA in the case of Kamila Valieva. I think that in this situation, one can rejoice that at least this small positive moment of Valieva's confession of innocence, but we have to wait for the decision of international organizations. The main point is that the fate of the Olympic medals in the team championship, so let's not flatter ourselves ahead of time. All athletes are superstitious people. I think we should wait for further developments. Sasha Trusova is the champion of the country, but it will be nominal. In fact, everyone knows the situation. Sasha perfectly understands what and how. How will she take it? Well, for example, I wouldn't be happy. It's only on paper, added the coach. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has put into effect the decision of the National Security and Defense Council on the application of restrictive measures against 198 people. Among those sanctioned are producer Yana Rudkovskaya and sports commentator Dmitry Gubiernev. The term of the application of the sanctions is 10 years, and the restrictive measures include the blocking of assets, a complete or partial ban on securities transactions, the cessation of cultural exchanges, and the deprivation of state awards of Ukraine, and others. The decree enters into force on the day of its publication. Earlier in Ukraine, personal sanctions were imposed against 119 Russian cultural figures. The blacklist included Dmitry Bilan, the famed musical artist, who is represented by Yana Rudkovskaya. In 2008, Dmitry Bilan represented Russia in the Eurovision Song Contest in Belgrade with the song Believe, accompanied by Hungarian violinist Edvin Martin and Russian Olympic and world figure skating champion Evgeny Plushenko. In a move that should have everyone questioning the legality of corporate media conglomerates, United States broadcaster NBC has launched its logo for next year's Olympic Games in Paris, unveiling it in a special video clip featuring the American media personality, businesswoman, and socialite Paris Hilton, who was the star of Paris in Love on NBC's own Peacock app. The spot debuted during the NBC Sports coverage of the National Football League wildcard playoff game between the Los Angeles Clippers and Jacksonville Jaguars. The 20-second promo opens with a silhouette of a woman crossing an opulent room and opening the doors to a terrace. A voice says, "Next summer, the eyes of the world will be on." The woman turns and says, "Paris." The woman is Paris Hilton. A fast action sequence follows, featuring Olympic athletes and hopefuls and iconic Parisian landmarks. The promo ends with Hilton acknowledging that the spot is about the Olympics in Paris, not her. And sadly, not Emily in Paris either. "I'm thrilled to partner with NBC to help reveal the logo for the Paris Olympics," said Paris Hilton, a great-granddaughter of Conrad Hilton, the founder of Hilton Hotels. "The Olympics are so iconic, and Paris is, of course, one of my favorite cities. So it's been really special to be able to participate in the countdown to get fans excited about the 2024 games." NBC is owned by Comcast Corporation, and it holds the U.S. broadcasting rights to the Winter and Summer Olympics until 2032, having signed an extension in 2014 that runs from 2021 to 2032 in a deal worth $7.65 billion. "Our promotion of the Olympics never stops," said Jenny Storms, Chief Marketing Officer, Entertainment and Sports, NBC Universal. "It's part of the DNA of NBC Universal. The reach and scale of the NFL playoffs align with the beginning of our push to the 2024 Paris Olympics. We are thrilled to begin the campaign by partnering with Paris Hilton as we bring entertainment and sports together to start building excitement in anticipation for the return of the Olympic Games in one of the world's most dynamic cities." Versions of the promo are due to run for the next few months across numerous NBCU platforms, including linear, streaming, digital, and social media, to help the broadcaster's coverage of the games, due to open in the French capital on July 26th next year and concluding on August 11th. As part of the partnership, Paris Hilton's next-gen media company, 1111 Media will also promote the spot across digital channels, including her personal social media handles. The logo has a timeless elegance and sophistication that is distinctly Parisian, NBC claimed. The logo is evocative of a well-established couture fashion label. The typography is rooted in French Art Nouveau letter forms with modern tapering and flair. According to the Russian media, 2022 European silver medalist, Italian figure skater Daniel Grassl, will prepare for the 2023 European Championships with the coaching staff of Eteri Tutberidze. Daniel is still in Moscow. He'll be preparing for the European Championships with Team Tutberidze, a source close to the situation said. The European Championships will be held January 23rd to 29 in Espoo, Finland. Earlier, a source said that Daniel Grassl arrived in Moscow at the beginning of the year, and before that, he parted with his coach Lorenzo Magri after an unsuccessful performance at the Italian Nationals. Grassl is interested in cooperating with Tutberidze on an ongoing basis, but the decision on this matter remains up to Eteri Tutberidze. To date, the parties have not reached a final agreement. Honored coach of the USSR, Tatiana Tarasova, commented on the news that the Italian figure skater will be preparing for the European Championships in the group of Eteri Tutberidze. Wonderful! Everywhere there is ice, but not everywhere there is a coach of such a level as Tutberidze. A wonderful group of trainers is working. What do we care who is in the mood, Tarasova said. When asked if Tutberidze could take Grassl to a new level, she replied, "Of course." We have to wonder if Dr. Shevetsky will be included among those from Team Tutberidze's staff that Daniel Grassl is working with. In June of 2018, Elizabeth Tursunbayeva announced that she was parting ways with coaches Tracy Wilson and Brian Orser and returning to childhood coach Eteri Tutberidze. In 2018, Tursunbayeva placed 12th at the Four Continents Championships, 12th at the Pyeongchang Olympic Games, and 11th at the World Figure Skating Championships. In March of 2019, Tursunbayeva successfully landed a quad salchow and became the first woman to ever land a quad jump at the World Championships in ladies singles. She finished in second place overall, winning the silver medal and becoming the second Kazakh skater to medal at the World Championships and the first to do so in ladies singles. The next season, Tursunbayeva suffered from recurring injury issues that compelled her to withdraw from the 2019 Lombardia Trophy. She did compete at the 2019 Shanghai Trophy, winning the silver medal, but withdrew from her first Grand Prix assignment, 2019 Skate America. She subsequently withdrew from the 2019 Cup of China as well, stating that she hoped to be well enough to participate in ice shows later in the year. Tursunbayeva has been unable to compete ever since. Former IOC member, Norwegian Gerhard Heiberg, who masterminded the Lillehammer 1994 Olympic Games, believes that European countries can boycott the Olympic Games if Russia is allowed to compete. At the Olympic Summit last year, the IOC and its president, Thomas Bach, encouraged a proposal by the Olympic Council of Asia to enable athletes from Russia and Belarus to participate in its qualifying events for Paris 2024. The plan to devise acceptable conditions for inclusion of Russian athletes is far too early. Ukraine's allies include indeed all of Europe, and they're wholly justified in their concern, affirmed Gerhard Heiberg, retired Norwegian IOC member. It is much too soon for leaders of the Olympic Council of Asia to be investigating possible loopholes for Russian integration. Yes, neighbors of Ukraine may well resort to boycott. Putin is obsessed with sporting triumph that Russia's exclusion from Paris might force his hand in concluding rampant terrorism. Alarm in Paris is on full alert. Alain Luzenheim-Victor, doyen Olympic commentator for French sport daily L'Equipe, is shrill in his condemnation. The IOC's attitude is not intellectual. It's crazy. This plan would kill the Paris Games, he said. Our ambition could instead become not the Olympic Games, but the War Games. The Olympics do not need Russia, not when we consider the horrors in Ukraine. For the moment, Tony Estrangut, multiple canoe Olympic champion and president of Paris 2024, is holding his tongue, awaiting IOC reconsideration. Craig Reedy, director of the London 2012 Organizing Committee and former president of the World Anti-Doping Agency, added his disapproval of the IOC sanitation. Thomas is well aware of my view on what is not a wise decision, he said. Several months ago, fellow IOC senior retiree from Canada, Dick Pound, emphasized this principle that illegal nations are unwelcome. Following World War I, Germany and Austria were suspended from Antwerp's Olympics of 1920. Likewise, Germany and Japan were suspended from London 1948. Honored coach of the USSR in figure skating Tatyana Tarasova reacted to the words of the former member of the IOC, Norwegian Gerhard Heiberg. Heiberg believes that European countries can boycott the Olympic Games if Russia is admitted. I think that he does not know sports well and is a narrow-minded person. I didn't even think about the fact that athletes from Europe could boycott competitions. And what? The strongest cannot participate? Is it necessary that the weakest take all the places? It is felt that he is a former member of the IOC. He offers idiotic and old-fashioned solutions. Russian athletes did nothing wrong to keep them at home instead of the Olympics. I, personally, as a working coach who has been working at the highest level for 55 years, do not understand why they should be punished like that. Why punish people? What did they do? Tarasova said. On December 31st, after 44 years, Richard William Duncan Pound ceased to be a full IOC member, having passed the applicable age limit of 80. David Owen interviewed Dick Pound and spoke to him about Russia. Do Russian athletes need to be given a chance to qualify for Paris 2024, irrespective of how the war pans out? If so, how would you set about doing this? Unfortunately, that matter seems still to be up in the air. The unanswered philosophical question is whether an unprovoked war changes the aspirational Olympic paradigm. This was certainly the case with the 2 world wars and South African apartheid regime. At a certain point, there is a shared national responsibility for national conduct. Do you have a parting message for Russian sports leaders, having spent more time than you probably wished in recent years scrutinizing their conduct? Russian athletes and sports leaders are welcome additions to the Olympic movement, but they must understand that if they wish to be part of it, they must accept and respect the applicable rules. Their sport conduct cannot be inextricably linked with state conduct. Their conduct in recent years has not been acceptable. Russian Anti-Doping Agency Director General Veronika Loginova has claimed domestic doping in Russian athletics has dropped, as the country looks to be reinstated into competition this year. Loginova has pointed to the independent audit into anti-doping changes in the Russian Athletics Federation, which shows a decline. We have about 20% of the total number of samples taken from athletics, said Loginova to Russian state news agency TASS. When preparations were underway for the audit of the Russian Athletics Federation, the question arose about the number of anti-rule violations in domestic athletics in recent years, and it's declining, which rejoices us. And I can say with all responsibility that the testing is flawless. This applies to both planning and the process of doping sampling. Now, just a note here. Grigory Rodchenkov did say that RUSADA would tip off athletes about when they would be conducting random drug sampling. We have very strict rules. Everything happens in accordance with the standards of the World Anti-Doping Agency. RUSADA is still working on becoming compliant with the World Anti-Doping Code, which would further free the country from any restrictions in sports competition. The Russian Athletics Federation is also aiming for reinstatement at World Athletics 2, having been suspended in November 2015 due to the state-sponsored doping found in the country. Since then, select athletes training overseas and with clean test records, such as world pole vault champion Angelika Sidorova and long jumper Daria Klishina, have been able to compete neutrally as authorized neutral athletes. World Athletics Russia Task Force Chair Rune Anderson told the World Athletics Council that there was a new culture of good governance and zero tolerance for doping throughout the Russian Athletics Federation, with a final recommendation expected to be made in March 2023. Complications would still come over the world in Ukraine, which could see the Russian Athletics Federation return as a World Athletics member. In other news, Olympic champion Kamila Valieva and other Russian figure skaters will perform in Mongolia this spring. Russian skaters are expected to perform in April and May at the Steppe Arena. Steppe Arena was built in 2021 according to the standards of the IOC. It is designed for 2,600 spectators. The Asian Youth Hockey Championship will also be held there in March. Honored coach of the USSR Tatyana Tarasova commented on the information that Russian figure skaters can perform in Mongolia. I haven't heard anything about it. And in general, would a performance in Mongolia benefit Russian skaters now? Any presentation would be helpful. We will certainly have them in our country too. Why are they attached to Mongolia? Mongolia is not a country, is it? Well, they will go. They will perform well, said Tarasova. Note, Mongolia is a landlocked country in East Asia, bordered by Russia to the north and China to the south. The Russian Synchronized Swimming Federation has emerged as the latest governing body in Russia to consider participating in Asian events. The RSSF president, Olga Brushnikina, a three-time Olympic champion, told Russia's official state news agency TASS that the organization is looking at the possibility of competing in Asia. Russian athletes remain largely banned from international competition due to the country's invasion of Ukraine, but a growing number of sporting federations in Russia are looking to Asia as a possible opportunity for them to compete. The issue of moving to an Asian federation is complex, said Brushnikina. It is decided not at the level of the federation, but at the level of the Russian Olympic Committee, the IOC, and the International Swimming Federation. Today, we are considering the possibility of participating in some Asian competitions. Our main rival is competing in Asia. This is the Chinese team. From the point of view of training and competitive practice for athletes and coaches, participation in any competition is a plus. While discussions are at the level of such participation in events, but in any case, the decision on possible participation will be made by the head coach of the national team, Tatiana Pokrovskaya. The Russian Football Union and Russian Swimming Federation are other governing bodies that have expressed their interest in potentially participating in Asian tournaments. The move comes after last month's Olympic summit chaired by IOC President Thomas Bach, and he agreed unanimously to follow up on an initiative proposed by the Olympic Council of Asia to enable Russian and Belarus athletes to take part in its competitions. The OCA has offered to facilitate the participation of Russian and Belarusian athletes in competitions in Asia under its authority while respecting the sanctions in place. OCA acting president argued that the need for protective measures in place for athletes no longer existed in the Asian continent while speaking at the Olympic summit. Russia is the most successful nation in artistic swimming at the Olympic Games, with the ROC claiming 2 golds at Tokyo 2020. Due to the political situation, I stopped feeling safe in Russia. An interview with Mikhail Nazarychev, who left Russia and spoke against the war. Together with his partner, Yulia Artemyeva, Nazarychev is the 2020 World Junior Bronze Medalist, the 2021 Russian Junior Champion, and the 2021 International de France Silver Medalist. Many were looking forward to the further progress of a bright pair in senior skating, but this was not destined to happen. In June 2022, it became known about the breakup of the pair. Shortly thereafter, Mikhail moved from Russia to the United States, where he is now building a new life. Your life has changed a lot lately. A year ago, you competed with the strongest figure skaters in the country at the Russian Nationals, and today you are in Miami, not competing. How did it happen? Everything is quite simple and logical. Due to the political situation, I ended up in the USA. I stopped feeling safe in my country and wondered what options could be found for safety in a normal life. I managed to find this option. Even before you left for the US, it became known that you broke up with Yulia Artemyeva. What caused the breakup? This has already passed, and I would like to say that I do not want to make anyone take sides. It was a good time. I can only speak positively about this time. There were questions for me as an athlete, I guess, but not as an athlete at competitions. I always performed all the elements, and the judges and technical specialists always noted me in the pair. There were claims made about me outside of sports. The fact that I like to admire myself, have quite provocative social networks, and so on. In my opinion, the breakup of our pair happened because hatred toward me accumulated, because I didn't change anything about myself, and because my partner had to skate with me, which apparently pissed her off. There were many attempts from outside to make us end our careers in this pair earlier than planned. One day, I came to training, and there we had a conversation with my coach and a partner. Actually, I was put before the fact. I was told that we were finishing work in this pair because no one wants, or someone does not want. I was asked my opinion. I mentioned that this is taking too long, and I can't sit all the time. Like on a powder keg. We skate, we don't skate, we want to skate, we don't want to skate. So this whole situation lasted quite a long time. Yes, it has become commonplace for me that every time something does not suit someone, I just got tired of it at some point. Who announced this decision to you? It seems to me that this decision was made collectively by my coach and partner. They announced it. Since this was not the first attempt, there was no surprise. We didn't get along. Yulia is more calm. I can't say that she is closed off. It's just that she will do the job first, and then she can joke, relax. I'm different. I usually do two things at the same time. I can simultaneously perform elements and joke. I don't think one interferes with the other. It's just the way I am. Officially, your breakup became known in June of last year, but when did it actually happen? It happened before. By the time the official news came out, I had been skating with Nadia Labazina for a long time. Note, that is the same Nadia involved in the TJ Nyman situation. You skated together for 4 seasons and did it very successfully. Weren't you embarrassed to leave like this? After all, so much time and effort has been invested in your pair. In a pair, the work of both is important. If one person does not want, then what is the point of forcing someone? You can't force someone to like you. I can't believe that they didn't try to persuade you and Yulia to stay in a pair. You were considered one of the most promising pairs. A huge amount of work has been done with our pair. A huge coaching staff worked with us. Pavel Shusharenko, Maxim Trankov, and I skated at the Hrustalny skating rink with the Team Tutberidze last season. Specifically, Pasha did a lot for our pair to exist. When the question of the breakup came up, he spoke to us repeatedly. He, all the choreographers of the group, the head of the Perm Figure Skating Federation, and many other people tried to prevent a breakup. But what happened did happen. Just note, Miami is the favorite vacationing spot of Team Tutberidze, whose own daughter is also training in the U.S. This is interesting how this turn of events is doing, if you have a scorecard. How did events develop further after the breakup of your pair? The pair broke up. It wasn't a lifelong relationship. It's just a sport, just a career, nothing personal. We continued our work with Shusharenko. Yulia teamed up with Losha Burakhanov, and I teamed up with Nadia. And we all together continued to work there. Do you keep in touch with your coach, Pavel? No. Did your departure contribute to this? I think yes. It was really hard for him and for me. It's not easy when you know a person, work with him for many years, about 10 years in our case, and then you part. It must be very unpleasant. I understand him perfectly. I did not warn him before leaving Russia, but for only one reason. I knew that if I warned him, then all borders would be closed for me, and I could not go anywhere. I would really like to tell him in advance, to prepare him too, but I understand that this would make the situation worse for me. Did you manage to somehow explain yourself afterwards? Yes. We had video calls a couple of times. We talked, explained everything to each other, and ended on a good note. I'm very grateful to him for his work. I'm glad we know each other, and I hope our paths cross again sometime. Pasha is a great professional. I spent a lot of time in figure skating, and I saw a lot, so I can say with confidence that Pasha is an ideal coach. He listens to the opinions of his athletes and knows how to find an approach for everyone. Karina and Luka of Georgia skate under his guidance. Luka is a very temperamental guy. He's of Georgian blood, you know. Well, even if you take me, it's not easy with me. I know it very well. However, he managed to find a way. Others in his place would have given up long ago. It was incredibly great to work with him. For any person who wants to do pairs or try figure skating, I highly recommend Pasha as a coach. Can we say that the breakup with him was the most painful for you? If you take all the people I know in Russian figure skating, then yes, this is the most painful parting. But then again, it had to end someday. All athletes eventually finish their work with one another and their coach. Last season, you spent a lot of time at Hrustalny. What are your impressions of this place? Did you manage to work with Tutberidze? Yes, we skated in both Hrustalny and in Novogorsk with her. Tutberidze helped us with all sorts of advice about costumes, emotions, appearance, and presentation. Her entire team also worked with us, Sergei Dudikov and Maxim Trankov, for which we thank them very much. She's a strong coaching staff. What is your main impression of Eteri Georgievna that she made on you? The seriousness of intentions. I don't know how to describe it correctly. This is a great and strong coach with a team in which she has everything under control. Everyone knows their job and their rules, and this is very cool. The discipline is incredible. Even if we compare the children who train with us in Perm and with Ateri, it's like night and day. It is clear that children are children everywhere, but as soon as the training process begins at Tutberidze's group, these children turn into little professionals. They know the whole routine and all the rules, and it is clear that they need it. Not their parents, not a coach who forces, but the children themselves need it. Therefore, they have such excellent athletes there. Many criticize the strict working methods of Ateri Tutberidze. Have you noticed something like that? There are no strange methods of coaching. They simply have everything in order. How else? You can't do anything without discipline. If you do whatever you want, then nothing will work out. Yes, from an early age, she teaches children that they are athletes and that they are responsible. In my opinion, it's great. What can you say about working with Sergei Dudikov? He is considered one of the leading jump specialists in Russia. Nothing. This is not because he is a bad specialist. The thing is, I don't have any jumping technique at all. I jump by some rules of my own. In such a situation, it is difficult to teach or retrain. Pavel knew how I was jumping. He had an approach for me. In this case, what functionality did Trenkov perform regarding your pair? First of all, he helped with emotions. He helped with programs, with transitions, and with the work of arms. He hated empty spaces in programs. He was constantly adding and suggesting new things. And also, we spent a lot of time trying to fix our twist, since it was, in fact, the least expensive element in our programs. Therefore, together, we devoted a lot of time to a twist. You noted that after the breakup with Artemieva, you teamed up with Nadezhda Labezinova. I assume you don't skate together anymore? Yes. I left alone. She also did not know about my departure. There was no conversation after. Did you somehow continue to train now, or have you decided to take a break? I train on my own schedule. The training process consists of the following parts: ice, gym, and physical training. I perform jumping elements and pair elements, but most of the time now I skate as a single skater. Officially, I don't have a partner yet. My goal now is to improve my skating and jumping. I can't give more details yet. So you're not going to end your career? I took a short break for a possible change of citizenship. Then I will resume my career. I'm in great shape and really want to skate. Why did you choose Miami as your relocation destination? The United States turned out to be one of the easiest places to move to. You also need to understand that the USA and Russia are countries that create the rules, both in figure skating and in general. Europe most often plays by the rules of the above countries. Have you considered any other options? Considered, but we do not agree with the federations. You touched upon a conversation about a possible change of citizenship. At what stage are you? What were the requirements for you? And is there an understanding of the timing? I'm only considering this option so far, consulting with people, so no steps have been taken on this matter yet. The time frame can be any length of time. The decision can be made in a week, 6 months, or a year. But this is not particularly important to me, because to participate in the competitions, you need only one passport in a pair. Only for the Olympic Games, you need 2. Certain conditions were set before me, but these are absolutely adequate conditions that could be set for any athlete. Will it be U.S. citizenship? I don't know. I can't say anything about it. How hard is the whole process? Isn't it complicated by the attitude towards the Russians? Not everywhere. There may be a little bias here and there, but for the most part, there is a very positive attitude towards Russian skaters. Everyone understands the level of our figure skating. Therefore, many are happy to accept our skaters. And after your departure from the country, did the representatives of our federation somehow try to contact you? Maybe they tried, but I have no desire to communicate with them. Do you understand that there's a possibility that you may no longer return to Russia, at least in the near future? Do you have any regrets or sadness about it? I'm not going back. I don't feel sorry either. I've been planning this for a very long time. I had thoughts about changing citizenship even before the moment I teamed up with Yulia. Have you shared these thoughts with anyone? Pasha, Yegor Zakharov, the president of the Perm Figure Skating Federation? They were all well aware of this. It surprised me when, after the test skates among juniors, I came across an article in which Zakharov claimed that none of his athletes wanted to change their citizenship. It was very strange to me. I know of at least 4 people who would like to change citizenship, and they know this very well. But of course, no one will talk about it. Even when I was representing Russia, if I mentioned in an interview that I was thinking about it or would like to change citizenship, it was always cut out. It turns out that you had thoughts about changing citizenship long before the start of all of the events. What was the reason? First, to feel safe. It was the same even before February. In my case, nothing has changed in this respect. While representing other countries has always piqued my interest. Before I teamed up with Yulia, I saw more opportunities in leaving the country. Everyone liked our pair. I decided that we could wait. I understood inside, as soon as we were no longer needed, it would be possible to return to the issue of changing citizenship. If I changed citizenship outside of the current situation, and it worked out, I would stay with Pasha, because it's hard to find a better coach than he. If all these events had not unfolded, would you have left? Probably not. This has become a real point of no return. How did your parents react to the departure? Did they support you? They were happy. They supported me. They said that if I planned everything and had everything under control, then I should go. Have you managed to get in touch with figure skating in the States? What is the fundamental difference between figure skating in our country and the USA? There are no fundamental differences. Of course, I can't compare yet. In Russia, I skated everywhere and all my life. But here I am just starting. But so far, everything is the same. And if we abstract from sports, where is better, in Miami or in Perm? What is the difference between the US and Russia in general? It's a very interesting comparison, Miami and Perm. For the time being, of course, it is better for me to live outside of Russia. I flew somewhere many times, and I realized long ago that I should leave. The standard of living is fundamentally different. Russia is not even close. Here it would be even more correct to say that the rest of Russia, except for Moscow, because all the money is in Moscow. Once you get out of there, everything becomes very clear. There are, of course, many good cities. For example, Perm. I have nothing against this city. There is an excellent school of figure skating, and there is a wonderful president of the Figure Skating Federation who does everything for the athletes. But if we are talking about Miami and Perm, then we cannot compare them. You said that in figure skating you are best friends with Beijing Olympic champion Alexander Galyamov. Do you still keep in touch with him? Before the Russian nationals, we kept in touch. Then we were both busy. I think we'll message each other and discuss everything later. What is he like in everyday life? He's a very responsible and punctual person who always does everything right. He loves style. You can understand it from his social media. In general, a very cool person and good friend. In general, according to your recollections, how friendly is our environment in Russian figure skating? Can it be called friendly? There is no friendly environment. Of course, there are people who know how to separate sport and personal life, but these are few. There is no such thing as true friendship. Maybe there is friendship between those who are always on the pedestal and those who will never be there, and everyone knows that. In this case, yes, there can be friendship because there is no rivalry and no one is jealous of anyone. But friendship among those who constantly share the pedestal is impossible. At least in figure skating, there is no such thing. Of course, there are exceptions, and I do not argue, but there are very few people who are able to isolate and separate the sport from everything that happens off the ice. Sasha Galyamov, Andrei Filitov from ice dance, they can, but in general, it is often funny to watch how many people pretend that they are friends, although this is far from the truth. Everyone loves to be hypocritical. Everyone loves to lie. For some, this seems to be okay. Russian figure skaters are deprived of the opportunity to compete in international competitions. How hard is this for the athletes? It's shitty, although it depends. Maybe someone trains for money. Now the Federation is trying to do everything possible so that the top 3 in each discipline do not go anywhere and remain in Russia. As a result, they organize domestic competitions and rename regular competitions to the Russian Grand Prix in an attempt to compensate for the lack of international competitions. Can this fully compensate for the lack of international competitions? Money, yes. But globally, it makes no sense. Yes, you will earn a lot of money, but you will not leave a mark on the ISU records, and you will not be able to show your programs to the whole world. In terms of a career growth, this is the lid of the coffin. In terms of just sitting and making money, this is a great option. You noted that you are thinking of changing citizenship. Could this option be a good alternative for Russian skaters? Of course. This would be a great option for those who place below the top 3 all the time, for example. For those who, for various reasons, cannot compete with the top skaters, lack of physical endurance, jump content, it's easier to change citizenship and be the best in another country than to waste your time in your own country. No offense will be taken, but what would Karina Safina have achieved if she had not moved to the Georgian national team? Some in Russia are condemning the change of sports citizenship. For example, the whole season we have been discussing the possible transfer of the dance duo of Team Tutberidze's daughter Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin to the USA. Have you heard anything about it? Yes, of course I heard it. If they want to go, then let them. Here my opinion does not matter. This is their choice. But would it be a good impetus for their career development? They are doing fine. Their coach is Diana's mother. They would feel great in Russia as well. How will they feel in the U.S. after changing their citizenship? I don't know the world of ice dance. Just considering what kind of coaches they have, the coaching staff, how artistic and strong they are, I think they'll be fine. Last question on the topic. Can you imagine in the situation in the near future if Tutberidze moves to the U.S. and begins to work there officially? I do not know. I'm not so familiar with Etera Georgievna. It seems to me that everything suits her in Moscow. If she wanted to change something, she would have done it a long time ago. When do you think Russian athletes will return to the international arena? Never. It is clear that someday it will end, but when exactly, no one knows. It certainly won't happen anytime soon. There is one hope that someone will eventually come to their senses and say, sport, art is out of politics. But in war, all means are good, so it is unlikely that international organizations will get rid of Russian athletes. They will be tormented to the last. Is it fair in general that the athletes who had nothing to do with it have become hostages of the situation? Yes and no. I have mixed feelings. Even for myself, I cannot find the right answer to this question. While honored coach of the USSR, Tatyana Tarasova, spoke about the interview of the bronze medalist for the World Championship among juniors in pair skating, Mikhail Nazarychev. Nazarychev, who previously played for Russia with Yulia Artemyeva, said he had moved to the U.S. and would like to change citizenship and resume his career. Only for him the change of citizenship will be a loss. For Russian figure skating, the absence of Nazarychev is not a loss. Did he leave for the USA? Well, good luck to him. This is his personal choice. He can do whatever he wants with his life, Tarasova said. Three-time Olympic champion, State Duma deputy Irina Rodnina reacted to the words of the bronze medalist for the World Championship among juniors in pair skating, Mikhail Nazarychev. Nazarychev said in an interview about moving to the U.S., I stopped feeling safe in my country and wondered what options could be found for a normal life. I don't know such an athlete. If he does not feel safe in Russia, I would advise him to see a psychiatrist, said Rodnina. Meanwhile, there is increasing speculation that Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin are looking to represent Israel, should Russia not be allowed back in international competition. This summer, Davis and Smolkin were revealed to be married, and though they affirmed that they were members of the Russian figure skating team, despite joining two American figure skating clubs, and meetings being held in the U.S. by ice dance officials over their potential participation in U.S. competitions at a dance event in Chesapeake, Virginia in July, the same week Green and Parsons left coach Alexei Kilyakov over Davis and Smolkin's arrival. Davis and Smolkin did not compete in any domestic competitions in Russia this season, even as Russian ice dance fell to the wayside. Gleb Smolkin has admitted that this is because he applied for a green card in the U.S. However, this process has been lengthy, and the political opposition at U.S. figure skating emerged to the point where the team had to explore other options. This summer, the team was monitored among teams from the Israeli Figure Skating Federation by Judge Sean Rettstadt, who is the chair of the ISU Technical Committee in ice dance. He is also believed to monitor the teams of Alexei Kilyakov on a regular basis and has been instrumental to the camp's rise in U.S. figure skating. He was previously believed to monitor the teams of Igor Spielband on a regular basis. Davis and Smolkin left Spielband for Kilyakov last summer. The immigration process in the U.S. is lengthy to the point where strings are unlikely to be pulled to get Davis and Smolkin to the Olympic Games. And while they could represent the U.S. at the World Figure Skating Championships, U.S. figure skating has policies in place to prevent and delay an easy switch back to Russia, should they be allowed back international competitions. There is another federation possibility, and is actually Israel. Gleb Smolkin's father is actually Jewish, which is enough to establish Jewish lineage for citizenship. Diana Davis, though a known Christian, as evidenced by her mother's love of wearing large glittery crosses, would be able to obtain Israeli citizenship by being married to Smolkin. The Israeli Federation is run by Boris Chait, whom Beverly Smith once reported that even Valentin Piseyev is afraid of. Kilyakov's son won the Israeli Ice Dance Championships with his partner this season, ahead of Masha and Misha, who are coached by Boris's daughter Galit. Tatyana Tarasova visited the Israeli skaters in Montclair, New Jersey this summer, when Irene Chait introduced me to Tatyana Anatolievna, who later claimed she didn't know who I was. Boris was involved in a controversy at the 2002 World Figure Skating Championships when his daughter won a bronze medal ahead of Lithuanians Drobiazka and Vanagas. Figure skaters from around the world signed a petition protesting the results, which was summarily dismissed by the ISU. I have attached articles in the description of this video involving death threats that need to be read to be believed. According to several reports from Russia, 2006 figure skating Olympic champion Roman Kostomarov, 45, was rushed to the hospital, has been placed in an intensive care unit where he is said to be in critical condition and is believed to be in a coma. According to MASH, Russian Olympic figure skater champion Roman Kostomarov was admitted to an undisclosed Moscow hospital's intensive care unit with pneumonia late on January 10th, where he was put on a ventilator. The figure skater was brought to one of Moscow's hospitals at 12:30 a.m. However, his condition deteriorated quickly, according to reports. Roman Kostomarov performed in a pair with Tatiana Navka. He won a gold medal at the 2006 Olympics. He twice won the World Championships and 3 times won the European Championships. On Thursday, January 12th, it was reported that Kostomarov had been ill for a week prior to his recent hospitalization. The news outlet reported that instead of being given medicines, he was treated with ice hole therapy. He continued to perform at shows over the weekend. However, he is now in critical condition. Choreographer Maxim Stavisky commented to the Sports.ru news site that according to doctors, Kostomarov does not have a coronavirus infection. During his performance, he coughed, but he didn't have a fever, so he didn't seek help. At that moment, there was no reason to worry, Stavisky said. Kostomarov's father, Sergei, reportedly told the same Russian news outlet, "It's probably coronavirus." "What kind of doctors do we have?" he added. "My youngest son called and said that the news was that he was on a ventilator. This is a nightmare. Where could he have gotten sick?" Well, his wife, Olympic ice dance world champion Oksana Domnina, spoke about the condition of her husband. "He is in serious condition. So far there are no improvements, but there are no worsenings, as they say either. A stable, serious condition," Domnina said. As usual, Sports.ru had a blog about the situation. Olympic champion in figure skating, longtime partner of Tatiana Navka in ice dance, Roman Kostomarov, was in intensive care in serious condition. What happened and what is known about it? On January 10th, news broke that Kostomarov had been hospitalized with pneumonia. Doctors said that the former athlete does not have COVID. Roman was hospitalized with pneumonia. He is on a ventilator. Doctors say it's not COVID. During his performances in the ice show, he coughed, but there was no temperature, so he did not ask for help, as there was no reason for concern at that time, said choreographer Maxim Stavisky. Later, Kostomarov was transferred to a hospital. There, the skater was given ECMO. This is an invasive method of blood oxygen saturation in the development of severe acute respiratory failure. January 11th reported that Kostomarov is in critical condition. He is under medical sedation and has left-side pneumonia with influenza B. Kostomarov is in the intensive care unit for cardiac patients. Influenza B is an acute illness caused by viral infection. Type V virus is transmitted only from person to person. It does not cause severe epidemics. Its outbreaks are rare. As a rule, they are local. Influenza B virus infection tends to be milder, mostly affecting children and young adults. A characteristic feature of influenza viruses is that they circulate only in the human environment. During the New Year holidays, Kostomarov performed in ice shows, The Wizard of Oz, The Nutcracker, and The Mouse King. The tour took place from December 15th to January 8th in Moscow and across the country. Also, the 45-year-old skater skated in open rinks in the Moscow region. On some days, the air temperature in the region dropped below negative 22 degrees. 3-time Olympic champion Irina Rodnina believes that overworking and skating in the cold could lead to pneumonia. "I skated in open rinks, and they brought me to figure skating because I had pneumonia 11 times, and that just cured me. Here, I don't know what costumes they were skating in, what kind of performance it was, but I can say one thing: recycling, not only in figure skating, but in general in life, does not always bring positive results. I understand that the holidays, there are a lot of plans, but you're not 18 years old. The most important thing for him is recovery. This is the most important thing now." Honored coach of the USSR, Tatiana Tarasova, is sure that this is not the case. "It's not even safe to walk. Something can fall on your head. I skated in the cold. We all skated and trained in such conditions. Previously, there were no indoor skating rinks." Roman Kostomarov performed in ice dance with Tatiana Navka. At the 2006 Olympics, they won gold. They won the World Championships twice and the European Championships 3 times. Tatiana Navka wished good health to her former partner, who is in the hospital. "My most important desire at the moment is for Roma to get better. I ask all my subscribers, fans of figure skating, and just caring people to pray for his health. Tatiana Tarasova called the information that Roman Kostomarov dived into an ice hole instead of traditional treatment nonsense. Turin 2006 Olympic champion is in the hospital in critical condition. Today, information appeared in the media that Kostomarov fell ill a week before hospitalization. He continued to perform in shows with a temperature of 38.4, and instead of traditional therapy, he dived into an ice hole. I saw him on the last day at the performance. He did not have a temperature. He said that he was coughing and his chest hurt a little, but there was no temperature. Swimming in the hole? What kind of nonsense? Who even writes this? Tarasova said. Honored coach of Russia, Alexei Mishin, believes it is wrong to blame the performance in the cold for the reasons of the hospitalization of Roman Kostomarov. You know, this is the same as that Zhenya Semenenko fell unsuccessfully on a non-standard size rink. People said you just shouldn't have shows on small skating rinks. This is just a case, both on skating on small rinks to hold shows and in cold weather. I remember that we skated in open rinks during my youth, and in very severe frost. Other athletes also skated. Nothing happened. It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances, but now it's wrong to blame the ice rinks, the frost, the shows, and the organizers, Mishin said. Choreographer Alexei Zeleznyakov spoke about the hospitalization of Roman Kostomarov. God bless Roman. This is the most important thing now. It may well be that this is due to the performance in the show. After all, as soon as athletes finish their careers and stop training, they start thinking about how to make money. They work as trainers, directors, but most also perform in the show, or by organizers. There, you have to go out and perform in any case, no matter what the weather is. You have to go and skate because you signed a contract. I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what happened to Roma. This applies to all skaters in general. Everyone must work hard and plow in order to feed and provide for their families. Moreover, it is no secret to anyone that skaters end their careers very early. So this is very sad. I had a case in my youth where under a signed contract, I went out to dance at negative 25 degrees, that I warmed up in a tent. It was simply impossible. In such weather, it is very difficult to perform tricks. Then I tore my ligaments, which took a very long time to heal. And most importantly, we do not have any insurance. There's nothing for athletes or ballet dancers. There is only general medical insurance, but it does not give anything. An honored athlete, if something happened to him, but he has no money, savings, or connections, it means nothing. We must remember that the main thing is always health. Always think where you are fussing. In 30 degrees below zero, you cannot skate for any money. Olympic champion in ice dance Natalia Besmianova wished recovery to the Olympic champion. On the eve, the 45-year-old was hospitalized with pneumonia. He is now in intensive care. All our lives, we lived in the same rhythm as Roman. We performed both at Christmas tree lightings and at open skating rinks, and nothing happened. We all survived. I do not think that participation in the ice show served as an impetus. I'm guessing it's just some kind of virus, but maybe the exercise made it worse, because exercise is usually not recommended if a person is sick. He didn't have a temperature, if you believe what they write, some kind of insidious sore. We wish him a speedy recovery, Besmianova said. Olympic champion in speed skating, State Duma deputy Svetlana Zhurova spoke about the state of Olympic champion in ice dance Roman Kostomarov. On the eve, the 45-year-old Kostomarov was hospitalized with pneumonia. It is clear that when you participate in the show, you have obligations, and there is no way to refuse. This situation can happen. I saw how the figure skaters performed in thin dresses at the opening of the skating rink on Red Square. I even worried about them, because it is very cold now. If we skaters can perform something and put something under our costume, then skaters, unfortunately, are deprived of such an opportunity. It must be treated with the understanding that their performances will be very short, that the athletes do not stand for autograph sessions and photos after them. In the case of Kostomarov, maybe someone who was sick approached him for a joint photo, and Roman, a responsible person, went away to perform in the cold, and perhaps he already had some symptoms of the disease. I admit it, said Zhurova. Three-time Olympic champion Irina Rodnina spoke about the hospitalization. I started with open skating rinks, and they brought me to figure skating because I had pneumonia 11 times, and that just cured me. Here, I don't know what costumes they were skating in, what kind of performances. Honorary president of the Russian Figure Skating Federation, Valentin Paseyev, expressed support for the Olympic champion. Today it became known that Kostomarov was hospitalized with a preliminary diagnosis of pneumonia, as in critical condition. Roma is a very dear person to me. We had different relations with him, but I realized that he is really an honest, decent, and very reliable guy. I can only say the warmest and most sincere words about Roma. I am very concerned about his condition and sincerely wish you a speedy recovery. Roman Kostomarov is a fighter. Of course, it was not easy for us, but in the end, he turned out to be a strong personality. I have tremendous respect for him. I hope that fighting qualities will help Roma at this difficult moment. I am sure that he will be able to get out of such a difficult situation. In perhaps the most ridiculous skating controversy of the week, Scott Moyer took to Twitter to issue a lengthy apology. I want to publicly apologize for the quote about Charlie White from the London Free Press article. It was made to a reporter who spent the majority of our career following the rivalry with Davis and White, and it was a weak attempt at me trying to be a funny guy walking down memory lane. I obviously missed the mark with this joke for a couple of reasons. First, it doesn't represent the respect I have for Charlie and the great things he is doing with his school alongside Tanith and Greg. They are like us, trying to make the skating world a better place, and the sport and their athletes are better for it. The other reason that breaks my heart is that I haven't represented the class of Christina and Anthony with this quote. They are fierce competitors, but they have nothing but respect for all of their competitors. They want so badly to represent their country at a World Championships. The U.S. National Championships will be a great dance event for many reasons, but it is about the current athletes. I hope I haven't overshadowed any of these athletes' training and efforts with my immature comments. So what did Scott Moyer actually say? "We're going to kick Charlie's ass," Moyer 35 quipped during a lively training session last week at Komica Wellness Center. Quote that one. Charlie White is the coach of Caroline Green and Michael Parsons, who are the chief rivals of Christina Carrera and Anthony Ponomarenko for the bronze medal at the upcoming Figure Skating Championships and a spot at the World Figure Skating Championships. Scott Moyer and Charlie White have been known to be training and sparring partners for more than 2 decades. Now, are you offended? Or does this banter actually make the battle for the bronze medal at the U.S. Nationals a little more interesting for 2 teams with 2 very boring free dances? And which head coach from the International Academy of Montreal do you think forced Scott to issue such a lengthy apology? Thank you. Good night.